And welcome to a special early edition of Happy Hour Live. I'm Styles. We can call this like a liquid lunch edition, if you will. The reason being is because my guest today is coming to us from across the pond over in England. Normally, we have somebody for a guest. We've actually a guest here from Canada, here in the United States, but never overseas. He is Mr. Matt Bigland of the band Dinosaur. Pile up joining us. There he is.
Yo!
Thank you so much for coming on, man. What time is it over your way right now?
It's 6 p.m.
Okay. So
It's
not
6 p.m.
not super duper late. That's what I was worried about. I didn't even think to do the time conversion when this was booked. Like, I hope it's not like 10 o'clock his time. And he's like, man, I got to go to bed or something.
No, dude, it's all good, man. It's all good. Early evening, I guess,
Mm-hmm. Well, what have you been up to now that you've been like everybody else around the world stuck at home at this point?
Yeah, dude, it's been for everybody, it's been such a weird kind of period of time, but I've kind of used it to just kind of really dig into writing. Like usually if we're on the road, we're on the road, but then if we're off the road, I kind of try and get into writing as much as I can. So when we were kind of forced off the road with the COVID thing, I just kind of tried to turn that into a sort of opportunity for myself, I guess, and use that time or this time to get busy writing,
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I'm doing. Like, it's a little strange, I guess, because, I'm not going anywhere and no one's going anywhere. So it's kind of repetitive, but, in many ways that's kind of cool for me. Like, it means I can just kind of dig into stuff.
Right, and you just sit back, you do your thing. You talk about that writing there. You've, when you came into this record, Celebrity Mansions, it was kind of like a do or die moment, if you will, for the band in your mind, because it's been well documented. This was either going to happen or it wasn't. The band was going to make it, or we're going to call it quits. So, how are you approaching the writing this time round for some new material for Dinosaur Pileup?
Well, I kind of feel like we have an opportunity because our platform as a band has kind of had a light shone on it, which is amazing. But at the same time, I don't know, I don't feel that different. I kind of still feel like our back is against the wall a little bit as a band because, as a rock band, it's so hard to kind of establish kind of security, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm totally honest, I feel kind of similar. Like, I feel like it could still be do or die, I guess. I just feel that we have a larger platform this time to do something, and I guess that maybe I'll never lose that kind of feeling of do or die. Like, maybe that's a good thing though, like to have kind of it gives it kind of energy. Like, I think maybe if you get too comfortable, maybe you write boring stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm complacent to say the least.
Yeah. So we'll see.
All right. Well, looking forward to seeing what comes of these COVID sessions for you. Have you been outside of writing? Have you been like streaming a lot of TV, reading any books? What else have you been up to?
Well, what have I been up to? The band, we started a podcast.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe you wanted to talk about that later. I don't know.
No. I have no theme, no flow. I have notes, but yes, that is in there. The Cosmic BBQ Podcast, which I love the name, by the way.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm glad. That's something that we've wanted to do for a while. So we again kind of grabbed the opportunity to start doing it. But it's pretty funny because we imagine doing that in the first place, like getting in a studio, like you're sat in a nice studio and all being able to crack a beer and kind of see each other and stuff. But obviously due to lockdown and everything, we ended up having to record it all individually from our bedrooms, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And we would be to record it, we all have to lie under our bed sheet recording off this website microphone thing. It's hilarious. But that's actually been really cool. Like we, you know, like people have been super stoked on hearing that, which is really encouraging for us. It's also really, really fun and funny to do. We initially like wanted to kind of open it up to be able to talk about anything, which I guess in the future we probably will, but we have mostly ended up talking about like bands, like tour stories and stuff like that. But it's still super fun, and the reaction's been super cool. Like we get a lot of messages of people like waiting for it weekly and stuff, you know. So it's pretty rad.
The latest episode came out about 2 days ago. Is it bad? Well, it's definitely not good. You guys go into a lot there, as you mentioned, the tour stories. Forensic Files gets brought up a lot in the very beginning. That is something apparently you guys tend to watch a lot on the road.
Yeah. I don't know why. It just seems to be always on the channels at like of hotels that, you know, basically Motel 6 have it on their channel set up on their TVs. So it's usually what we switch on when we get into our room. Which sometimes isn't great because you'll get in like sleep deprived 2 a.m. stick Forensic Files on and freak yourself out. But
I got to see this episode through 4 o'clock in the morning. The next one starts. I got to see this one through.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's so good though. I love that guy's voice. It's crazy.
You also mentioned Adventure Time in that episode. Apparently, you are a huge fan of that show.
I love Adventure Time. Yeah. I don't know why. I have such an attachment to it, and I think we talk about it on the podcast. Like that became my kind of when I need to like shut down on the road and like go to bed or try and fall asleep. I'll stick Adventure Time on. It's kind of like my like comfort, my happy place or whatever. Yeah, I just freaking love it. It's so weird.
That show, I always love that one too. I find myself whenever it's on and I'm flipping, you know, through the guide that I'll pop that on. Yes, I understand it's a kid show, but man, I think adults are drawn more to that show than kids are.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. And like, yeah, it's just so like the writing is so yeah, it's kind of childish, I guess, but the ideas in it and stuff, I mean, I don't know. They just seem so sort of LSD driven or whatever, like
yes.
Jake, you know, like Jake the Magic Dog that can literally be anything. It's like, yeah, that's freaking wild. I don't know. It's just so entertaining to me.
It's such a great show. I always love those ones too that, you know, those cartoons that, yes, they're for kids, but there are a lot of times where there's adult things thrown in. I remember there was an old show on Nickelodeon, I think it was called Fairly OddParents. Okay. And a couple times I caught it. Don't know why. I laughed. And then there would be times where they would throw in a very adult leaning joke. And I'm like, those kids are going to grow up, watch this back and go, oh my God, now I get it. I should not have seen this when I was 6, 7 years old.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally, man.
When you got,
go on.
Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say that the creator of Adventure Time released his new show, The Midnight Gospel, on Netflix recently.
Okay, and
that's pretty wild. It's actually it's not, in my opinion, I didn't enjoy it as much as Adventure Time because it's like they took only the LSD stuff out of Adventure Time, and the whole show is just the LSD stuff. So it's like The Midnight Gospel is so freaking wild. It's like really, really intensely weird. It's great, but yeah, I was hoping it would be more like Adventure Time, but whatever.
I'll have to check that out. I hate that too. I think the creator of Rick and Morty has a show on Hulu now, and like I was hoping it'd be very Rick and Morty-ish, and then you watch and it's like it kind of falls flat.
Yeah. Why? What's it called? I'm a huge Rick and Morty fan.
Oh my God. God. Yeah. Now I'm gonna have to look it up, but I will figure that out before we get done. It's something like it's with aliens invading our planet. They live here on the planet, and it's them trying to intertwine and be a part of our lives and stuff like that. And they're
right.
Yeah, I gotta look it up.
But it's not as good as Rick and Morty.
It's not. It kind of fell flat to me, man. Like I was like, okay, they can get away with a little bit more, and they purposely do it, but it's not as good.
Right.
So.
Right. I'll check it out. I'll find it.
Yeah. I'll get it before we wrap up here. When you're doing the Cosmic BBQ Podcast, though, are you guys prepping in advance to do an episode, or are you just doing it all on the fly when you get together?
Mostly all on the fly, which is kind of cool because I don't, none of us want it to become too like considered, and I think you can kind of neuter something like by making it too considered. So we want it to kind of just be a flowing, funny conversation. So I think like sometimes Mikey's ended up being, even though this was never the plan, but Mikey's kind of ended up being the kind of producer of it. So like, I think he'll think about a couple of things we maybe talk about. So maybe Mike has a slight direction every time we talk, but he doesn't tell me that because I think like that's the way we often work. Like Mike has a plan and I'll just kind of be bouncing off it. So yeah, it's super fun though. Like, yeah, it's something we really enjoy doing. So I think our plan is just to kind of, do it for as long as we want to, I suppose.
Well, that's cool. Hopefully, when all this lets up and you guys can get back out on the road, you guys can continue it and almost like have guests every week or whatever, and do shows live from shows, whatever. That would be kind of cool too.
For sure.
Being on the road and stuff, we don't know when this is going to let up. You guys had a couple festivals booked for next month. Those shows have been postponed. Do you have an idea at this point of when you might be back out on the road, or no clue yet?
No clue, which is scary, and a bummer. Yeah, dude, like literally no clue. It seems like everything that was originally rescheduled is just getting rescheduled again, and yeah, I literally have no idea, which is crazy. We were talking the other day, me, Mike, and Jim, and we realized that we haven't played. I don't think we've done anything. We haven't played a show for like 6 months or something crazy.
Oh man.
December, I think, was our last show, so not 6 months, but so it's pretty wild. Like it's a bummer. I'm super grateful that we got to release Celebrity Mansions before this happened, but at the same time, we're still in our first year of, well, I think actually the record came out exactly a year ago, like minus 4 days or something.
Oh wow! Okay.
So it's like the record is only a year old, and we've had to miss a substantial amount of touring and stuff, which is a real bummer. But it could be worse, I guess.
Very true. And you mentioned there about a year now into the record, Round the Bend, the current single. You have an animated video out for that. I remember the last time I saw you guys, it was a headline run. I think it was the Duck Room in St. Louis is the venue. Little basement joint.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll talk about that show real quick in a second. But at that point, there was discussion in the back with you guys about what the follow-up was going to be to Backfoot. And there was a couple discussions from other people in your camp about what the single was going to end up being. Not Round the Bend as it ended up being. What goes into those discussions, and how do you guys pick singles?
Well, there's always the band's opinion, and then there's obviously our management and people that work at the management that are trying to get the song to radio. So usually I just want the most gnarly song to go out there, and usually that's definitely not the song that anyone can get on the radio. So so like there is a lot of discussions. The band's opinion is definitely a large important part of that, but we also really, really respect our management's kind of experience and choice, because they've been kind of getting songs to radio for bands for years and years and years. So it's a big group decision, I guess, but the outcome's always different,
Yeah, because I think it was it maybe K West was the discussion at that point? I can't remember, but
yeah, that was in the running.
Okay, I still love stupid heavy metal, broken hearted loser punk.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, so that would have been. I would have loved that song to go radio, but
and that, speaking of that show, when we were in St. Louis at the Duck Room there, I was watching you guys. That was a headline show, and it was so cool to see your reaction. I don't know if you remember this or not, but during Backfoot, when the crowd did the woo part for you, You took a step back at that moment. You're like,
yeah. Totally.
They know it already here.
Yeah. We kind of had that experience a lot on that tour because Backfoot just like really connected, and that was maybe the first time that we've really seen that happen and heard that happen. So getting over to come over to the States is wild enough, and have a headline tour that people actually show up to, that's wild for us anyway. But having to kind of, have the crowd that engaged is really wild for us. So yeah, it was super like, a mind blower when a whole room in St. Louis like kicks off like that. It's crazy.
We'll wrap up here. I know you got to get rolling. But one thing, we're doing this thing here on our station right now, concert memories, because obviously we can't go to a show. You can't go out and play at this point right now. Do you have a favorite memory yourself from any show, whether it's one you played or one you've seen as a spectator?
Do I have a favorite memory of a show? Oh shit, man. I mean, my memory is the worst. Put me on the spot. What would be my favorite show? I mean, I really love festivals. So we've had so many great experiences, like playing festivals in the States mostly. Which one? Goddamn, I don't know.
It's all right, dude. It's all right. You know what? You can message me later, and I'll post it up.
Nice.
We'll post it up later since I got you on the spot there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, since you couldn't do that one, I'll ask one more for you. You toured with Offspring and Sum 41 last year. Obviously, that was big for you guys. Have you ever been starstruck in your time as in your band going out and touring? Have you ever been starstruck with anybody you played before with?
You know what? Like, not really. I don't really get starstruck.
Okay.
So not really, and that's kind of surprising because like Offspring, huge fan. Sum 41, huge fan. We've played with Weezer and the Pixies, like they're my my favorite bands. But I guess it's weird because like the experience of being in a band and touring, playing shitty shows, playing huge shows, like getting in the van, doing that whole thing. It's really weird because I guess all those bands have done that as well. Mm-hmm. So I kind of don't get starstruck because when you're in that experience, it's like, well, you've done exactly what we're doing and we're doing what you're doing. It's the same thing. So I think that kind of puts you on a level. Like you don't, I don't anyway. I just kind of end up seeing people as people rather than like, oh, holy shit, there's a rock star or whatever, because we're essentially doing the same thing. That said, the one person I didn't really speak to when we toured with Weezer was Rivers, because he's quite a he's quite an introverted guy and keeps himself to himself.
I've heard stories from security guards who have worked shows with Weezer about how to not interact with him as well.
Yeah. He's he's quite a unique dude, and he was, the interactions that we did have, he was totally lovely. All those guys were. But I wonder what it would have been like to really chat to him, because Weezer Blue album is, I still play that record regularly. So I wonder if I'd have been like, whoa, this is pretty freaking weird, like talking to Rivers. But maybe I would have been totally normal. I don't know.
All right. I can totally understand that one. All right. Well, Matt, thank you so much for joining us here on Happy Hour Live, brother. Stay on the line real quick as we end the broadcast, and we'll talk quickly in the backstage area. Thank you to everybody who joined us today. Don't forget, I got Scott Stapp coming up on Tuesday at 4 Central. Matt, from Dinosaur Pilot, Round the Bend, out now and on Rock 96.7. And make sure you guys check out the animated video as well. Thank you so much, brother.
Thanks, dude.